From NIC News, this is Today with a Shepherding Team Update with Liz Gracie and Myron McCoy from the studios of the Chicago Temple. 15 churches are implementing the intentional discipleship system. We'll see how this is enabling them to make disciples for the transformation of the world. For 7 weeks, nearly 20 pastors met to form a safe space to talk about racial equity. We'll hear what 2 pastors in the pilot program have to say about the experience.
Trying to make progress on racism and anti-racism work.
We'll see how members of one church turned the individual anti-racism learning path into a group journey. All that today, Friday, July 16th, 2021.
First up on NIC News today is discipleship. The General Board of Discipleship has advised that we cannot program our way to vitality. Rather, we need a movement of disciple making. And to spark the movement, they have developed a resource known as the Intentional Discipleship System. Let's see how it's being implemented in Northern Illinois.
Caleb, tell us what Intentional Discipleship Systems is.
An intentional discipleship system is essentially a blueprint of the church's mission. The primary mission of the church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ. And then it offers a picture of how the church's ministry and programs fits into this larger mission.
Several churches in the Northern Illinois Conference have already gone through the program and are implementing some of what they've learned. Can you give us some examples?
So at New Life Evans and Harlem United Methodist Churches, the pastor Hee-Won Kim, he's working to develop an intentional discipleship system that allows people to see the before and the after of discipleship. And so he's creating an idea system that essentially includes all of the church's ministries and programs into this chart, and everything they do, from worship to fellowship to mission to recreation, all has to fit into this larger picture of making disciples. Deacon Sharon Rice at First UMC in Belvedere, they've been working to create an IDS model that uses the keywords know, grow, sow, and go. You know, the culture of discipleship, it involves more than simply intentionality. It also involves action. And so we have examples such as Pastor G. Morris Jarklow at the West Ridge Community United Methodist Church. They recently partnered with Mama Chef Food Depository to develop the Little Free Pantry. And this is a freestanding food pantry outside of their church that anyone can come to anytime, no questions asked. Lay leader Karen Bonnell of Stewart United Methodist Church, she describes how her church decided to engage the entire community of Stewart. Now, granted, there's about 100 households in Stewart, but the church delivered an Easter bag to each and every household. And each of these Easter bags included an Easter card, a palm leaf cross, jelly beans, a Bible verse about the resurrection, and of course, an invitation to the Easter sunrise service that the church was hosting. And last but not least, Pastor Sarah Hong of Manuka United Methodist, she shares how God has been planting the seeds of a dream in her congregation for 20 years. And this started with a dream to build and relocate their facility from their existing location and building to a new location at the hub of the community. And this culminated in a groundbreaking ceremony on May the 1st of this year at their new site. And this new home, this new facility that they're starting to build, it's going to offer great opportunities to make new disciples for Jesus Christ.
Wow, some amazing examples. How can other churches get involved in IDS?
Simply go to your district superintendent and ask them how you can develop an intentional discipleship system in your local setting.
Thank you, Caleb, for sharing a little bit more about IDS.
You can find out more about the Intentional Discipleship System and other initiatives of the Discipleship Task Force on the NIC website. You'll want to pay special attention to the conference-wide event coming up on Sunday, November 14th. Check out this intriguing public service announcement.
Hey, this your church? Got to tell you something, man. DTF NIC. I need you to let everyone in this church know that this fall we're going to have a PPPP. That is a post-pandemic paraclete party. You know what that means? It's a worship service when everyone from the NIC gets together to worship Jesus in spirit and in truth. It's going to be a chance for us to refresh ourselves after this pandemic. So make sure everyone in your church knows and invite everyone. It'll be conference-wide, it'll be in person, and it will be virtual. And just in case you want to know why I'm dressed like this in 90-degree weather, because I am the undercover disciple.
We move now to the annual conference's anti-racism goal. The United Methodist Church recognizes that racism is a sin. And here in Northern Illinois, we have committed to live out the conviction that racism is incompatible with Christian teaching. To achieve our goal, the Anti-Racism Task Force launched a website with many resources for identifying and alleviating racism in ourselves, our churches, and the broader community.
One of those programs is the Clergy Peer Reflections and Engagement Series, or CPRES. Nearly 20 pastors participated in the pilot program launched in September of 2020. Anne-Marie Gearhart spoke with two pastors, Tony Lucas from our Albany Church in the Prairie South District, and Luther Mason from our Greenstone Church in the Lake South District, about their experiences.
Tony, tell me a little bit about your experience with CPRES.
It's probably the best thing that came out of starting anti-racism work. It's the one thing that I really look forward to, and I think I've learned a lot. It's been a chance to do that, a chance to meet colleagues that I wouldn't have met otherwise, and to find out that white people look at things a little differently than other people, and to learn about that difference. It's mind-boggling as a white person with many years on my belt to see how many things that white people take just for granted. And this has been an opportunity to explore it in a way that's reasonable and not in argument, but in working together and clergy to clergy and discussing. But everyone I feel was very honest and forthright, and I hope that we've all learned, but it's been an amazing experience for me.
Luther, tell us a little bit about your experience and how did you get involved?
My experience was to meet folks like Tony who minister out in the western part of the state where it's totally different. I can understand how they feel because of being so far out and disconnected from all the things that are happening. But like Tony's passion for justice, just like many of the other pastors who understand what the Word of God tells us, that we're supposed to do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with God. So to be able to form these new relationships with these faces that you see once or twice a year, maybe at an annual conference or at a training or so, and to hear their stories, to hear their passion, to hear their pains in dealing with God's people, which that's a hard thing to do at times. And this racism piece is definitely a work that the church needs to be working on. And I'm talking about the whole Church of God. I'm glad that we United Methodists are trying to do something, but we all need to be working on this.
We have to have these conversations, and we have to have them in safe spaces. And I think I would consider this a safe space to have the conversation. As
I've grown in leadership within the district and the conference, I'm getting to know great folks across this place. And so it's making me be more intentional at encouraging my other clergy colleagues of all races, whether they're Black, white, Hispanic, or Asian, to get involved with this and let us start with, as leaders, as servant leaders, to be the example to our lay people on how important this work is. No matter how daunting it may seem, this is a work that we need to be doing.
We should challenge ourselves and get outside the box and get outside our comfort zone, because that's how we got where we are, because each particularly white people want to stay where it's comfortable. We don't want to ask those questions. We don't want to address the stuff that hurts. We need to address it so it stops.
Thank you both, Tony and Luther.
Thank you, Anne Marie. The Antiracism Task Force is currently planning a new session of CPRES, which will roll out in September with a short retreat and subsequent sessions on Zoom.
Another anti-racism program that is available to lay people as well as clergy is the Awareness and Learning Path. It invites individuals to discern for themselves their current level of awareness and to allow the Holy Spirit to lead them toward greater understanding and empathy. Let's see how one congregation hopped on the path and journeyed together.
Reverend Johnson, tell us a little bit how First UMC got involved in the Anti-Racism Task Force's learning path.
There was some dissatisfaction that we really hadn't dealt seriously with race as a congregation. So over the past 7 years, we've been having various conversations, hosting book groups, discussions, engaging in actions. And then when this came up, and it seemed like a good fit for the work that we've already been trying to do. And so we appreciated the path, itself, and the resources that were given there, and then just the encouragement to find place and time to do that.
Lisa, tell us how you turn this from an individual learning path experience to a group journey for the church.
I just thought if we did it together, we might have a better opportunity. People will be there to encourage each other, and we hold each other a little bit accountable, and it would just be something that we could do as a church. And so it was really easy to take what we looked at, and we just said we would spend once a month looking at it together as a group with individual assignments in between, asking people to look at. So we would look at one of them together. We introduced it in the beginning. We did a couple in the first session, and then said, over this next month, please look at one or two more. Got together, discussed what we had learned, looked at another one, and then said, okay, we've completed that part of it, and now we're going to move to the next one. So it seemed to work really well because we were there together, and we had a lot of good conversations, a lot of really good conversations that helped, I think, keep us all a little bit more on track and a little bit more feeling like we were doing it as a group.
I think the learning path gives us a framework to start on trying to make progress on racism and anti-racism work. And I think there's a lot of places to start, and it's just important to start somewhere.
I had some awareness, but no place that I felt like I could apply it much. You know what I mean? So I thought this was a good place to start, and a good and safe place to start to build some community awareness on how much work still needs to be done.
I just really want to echo what Ed and Colleen are saying around creating space where people can feel vulnerable and to enter the conversation where they are. As I was thinking about this significance, for me, one of the most significant things about this was just having dedicated Christian space to have this conversation.
Just this morning, I was making a survey for the group of the people that were involved to say, are you interested in continuing as our own anti-racism task force type of group in our own church and again, luckily to be able to utilize the champion team that's already happening to continue the work, to continue to bring it maybe to the wider congregation and to continue our individual journeys, because there's just so much more to be done, and to try and kind of figure out what some action items might be for us as well. Continuing to learn, of course, and then where are we going to take that as far as what can we do?
Racism is a huge problem, and it takes an extraordinary amount of effort. Nobody can do it by themselves. Talking about it, making people aware, teaching and learning more about it, and carrying it to a wider audience. Those are all significant.
I think still the biggest problem for white people is recognizing that while they don't feel personally racist, that there's a total lack of awareness of how much is totally built into the system. And unless they intentionally unbuild or rebuild, nothing's going to change.
Thank you, First UMC Elmhurst, for sharing more about your journey on the learning path.
If you would like to jumpstart your congregation's commitment to anti-racism, participate in the conference-wide Do-It-Yourself Rally Against Racism. It's not too late to put together an event that works for your church anytime this summer. For more information and to register your church, go to the NIC website.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for another edition of NIC News Today with a look at the work of Vital Congregations Task Force.